Welcome to The Nurtured Woman, a podcast bringing you conversations from a wide range of guests, from medical and wellness practitioners to wine and culinary experts, fashion leaders, and other trusted field insiders. Join me, Michele Droll, your guide, as we delve into topics that inspire you. My guest today is a founding member and CEO of Thrive Financial Partners, a premier wealth management firm in Huntersville. A dynamic leader in her field, she has been widely recognized for her contributions to the industry. In 2020, she was named one of the 50 most influential women in Charlotte. And in 2021, America's Women magazine honored her as Woman of the Year. Welcome to the show, Lynn Bowser.
Yeah, I have been looking forward to our conversation.
I'd like to start off with having you tell us about Thrive Financial Partners. Share with us what you do, and as a woman-owned business, what inspires your mission and makes Thrive Financial Partners unique?
So, here at Thrive Financial Partners, we offer wealth management, comprehensive financial planning, and strategies for our clients. And our mission here really is to make planning accessible and simple to everyone. We want to have a warm and inclusive environment and take away feeling intimidated and uncomfortable. We really just want to make planning a dynamic conversation.
Why do you think it's so important for more women to take leadership roles in the financial industry? And how does that impact the clients you serve?
So, my personal mission as a wealth manager, and one of the reasons that I founded Thrive, is really to empower women to show up and have a conversation, to show them that they are worthy, they are capable, they can understand financial planning, they can understand their plan, what their money is doing, and how their money can work for them. And not only that, but I wanted to show other women that they can be financial advisors, financial planners, that they can own a firm. I was reading a statistic yesterday that 6.4% of all financial firms are owned by women. So it is a very small portion. And I think the more that we are sitting on the side of the table as advisors, the easier that it will be for people to come and have those, especially women, those dynamic conversations. And women are great listeners, right? We're empathetic. We really love to dig in and find the emotional side of things. And that is such a big piece of the financial planning. And fun fact, the New York Times once published an article stating that women get on average a 1% higher return than men advisors.
That's an interesting stat. It really does speak to the unique strengths women bring to the financial planning industry. Can you walk me through the process someone goes through when they first reach out to your office? What steps can they expect from the initial call and then the first few conversations?
Yeah, so I like to say it's really not that scary. I liken it to people going to the dentist, right? I want to avoid that. But really, the first two times we talk to someone, it's complimentary. We want to make sure that we understand the client, what they're looking for, and that we're a good fit for them and they're a good fit for us. So when someone calls or goes online and books an appointment, the first thing is really a discovery phase where we're asking a bunch of questions. And it's not all about your portfolio, it's about who are you? What's important to you? What are your core values? We actually send a values exercise sometimes in this stage. Sometimes we send it a little later. And what are you trying to accomplish? Why did you reach out? What is it that you're looking for? So we can talk about everything from current state to, our small business owners. I call them our accidental CEOs, where they're like, oh, I got a business and now I have a couple employees and I want to 10x, right? And I don't know what to do next. To our families who may be like, I want to fund a kid's education, I want to put a pool in the backyard, all the way to and through retirement and legacy planning. And so that first meeting is really just a conversation. And we want to get to know you, your hopes, your dreams, your fears, all of that. And then after that conversation, if we're like, hey, this is great, we've had good vibes, this is really interesting, we've collected some high level data. We might ask you for a couple other things. We're not collecting statements or anything at this stage. And we are going to go back to the table and our team is going to come up with a plan, a very high level. Like, do we think we can help you achieve these goals? Do we think they're achievable? And then we have a planning presentation meeting where we go over those high level goals. We show you where we think we can actually move the needle. And then we give you a proposal of how we're going to work together.
Now, is there a certain asset level that someone has to have to work with Thrive?
No. So one of the beautiful things about Thrive is that, and the intention behind the firm really was to be a fee for advice firm. So that fee for advice, simply put, is that you can work with us on a financial plan and pay us just for the financial plan. So it doesn't matter how much you have in assets, if all of your assets are in your 401k, which is what we commonly find, right? Which is great. But I wanted to give access to people who had most of their money in 401ks or who maybe wanted to self manage their money or had their brother who's in wealth management managing their money, but they want a more comprehensive planning experience.
So now I assume you also would manage a client's assets, making adjustments throughout the year if that relationship was established from beginning.
Yep, that is absolutely a service that we offer. And, a lot of our clients will choose to do that, but we have clients that simply don't as well. And so we look at our planning first philosophy. So we really go in with that planning. And then if people choose to, they want us to go to market, they want us to manage portfolios or find a product for them, we can do that on the back end.
Okay, well, thank you for sharing that. I love how flexible your services are. Lynn, how do you approach working with couples who have different retirement goals or visions? Some might want to retire early, travel, and live large, while others might prefer a more modest lifestyle. How do you help them find common ground and create a plan that works for both of them?
And so this is really unique because this is actually why I pursued my behavioral financial advisor designation. And so we lead with values. And I have found that everything from creating a budget to a retirement strategy can be narrowed down and actually followed more closely when you understand your values. And interestingly, we have found that our clients share 2 to 3 values as a married couple and have 2 to 3 unique values to them. And a lot of times you will have an adventure seeker who is married to someone who values safety, right? And so when you are having these conversations about retirement and you have one that wants to go and travel the world and you have the other one who's like, I just want to sit on my back porch, right? Understanding each other's unique value set is really going to help avoid friction when you're doing that planning. And it's okay. You don't have to have the same timeline for retirement. You don't have to want to do the same things, but you can understand where your spouse is coming from and then empower them to do the things that are meaningful to them, right? So we really try to have that open dialogue and talk through that. Like, how would you feel if your husband continued to work part time 3 days a week because he's bored, right? How would you feel if your wife went on one of those all girls trips, right? That a lot of women like to travel together and you stayed home because you don't really like to travel. How would that make you feel? And they will talk through that, right? They'll be like, oh, that's a great idea.
You're like a
Like,
counselor.
yes, absolutely. We are for sure like counselors.
That's what the BFA means. What is that? What kind of a credential is that?
Yeah, so it is a behavioral financial advisor credentialing, and it really ties in the psychology of money, the neuroscience behind money. It's a very fascinating designation. But I realized I was a counselor and I needed some more training, and it really gets to the root of the friction that you find sometimes. A lot of times you'll have someone who's on track with a plan, everything's going great, and they take a left turn and you're like, whoa, what just happened? Like, this will derail your whole plan. And if you can really find the root cause, you can figure out, is this really what they want? Or have their values changed? Has their mindset changed? Like, what is the root cause of this?
Okay. All right. I know many couples do manage their budgets separately. There's his money and her money perhaps goes to repairing the refrigerator or the car. And then his money might go toward the mortgage or to insurance. How do you counsel them to work through those kinds of issues? It's a dynamic that can be challenging to navigate. And I'm curious, how do you guide couples to work through this approach when managing finances separately?
Yeah, so we see that a lot. It's going to come down to personal preference first and foremost. And I think, again, when people do that, it's talking through the why. Like, why do you do that? Did you see something in your family that makes you want to do that? Is it an independence thing? I remind couples that when they're planning, if they're married, we have to do their planning together because for Social Security, for retirement, for required minimum distributions, the government's going to look at you as one, like it's one bucket of money, and those calculations are made together. So to the extent that they can wrap their heads around a joint plan and a joint planning experience, that's good. And for our clients, what I often find is they want autonomy to spend without having their spouse parent them, right? Like, why did you spend that at Starbucks? Or why did you buy that new television? So what we work with a lot of our clients on is that we have a joint account for joint bills. So anything that we're doing together, if we own a home together, if we have kids together, if we own a beach home together, whatever it is that we're doing that's for the family, education planning, healthcare, like all of that, we put into a joint account. And so we really break down those expenses and say, hey, this is a marital expense. And so we're going to pay for it together. And then we have our own buckets. I call them my money accounts. And out of that, you can buy each other presents, or if you value, I like to buy shoes. My husband likes electronics. So if you value those things, you can do that with free of judgment. That's your money to spend how you see fit. And that really gives people the freedom to not feel like they're being parented by their spouse. And I do that with proportions, like percentages. So it's not like we're each putting in 10 grand, because if we don't make the same amount of money, that doesn't make any sense.
It impacts us differently.
Correct. So if the wife is the breadwinner and the husband makes less, that's totally cool. Let's figure out the calculation. Maybe we each put 75% of our income into our joint bucket, and we each get to keep 25% in our buckets.
I love it. That makes sense. Stay with us. We're taking a quick break to thank our sponsor. When we come back, we'll tackle the challenges of managing money in second and third marriages or after the loss of a spouse, and how to create financial harmony in these unique situations. Want to grow your business and get noticed in the Lake Norman community? Becoming an LKN Connect featured business is your chance to shine. With exclusive exposure to our highly engaged local audience on our website, Facebook, and Instagram pages, your brand will stand out as a trusted leader. From personalized articles to special promotions, we help elevate your business's story and connect you with potential clients and partners. Leverage LKN Connect's powerful digital reach with our full-service marketing agency to increase your local presence and tap into a supportive network of businesses and residents. Join us today and take your business to the next level. Contact Michele Droll at mdroll, that's MDROLL, at lknconnect.com and ask how to get started with becoming a featured business. We're back from our break. Now let's talk about what happens in second and third marriages. Maybe we have partners who are bringing existing assets and adult children into the financial picture, or even if someone is widowed, how do you help them create a financial plan that's going to balance their shared goals and help them manage their legacy?
Yeah. So the number one thing I think before you get married for a second, third time, for whatever reason, divorce or being widowed, you need to have a sit down conversation between yourself, an advisor, and a family law attorney, and really they're challenging conversations. They bring up a lot of emotion, a lot of preset notions about how this should be. And a lot of times we see the desire to leave behind assets to their biological children. So their children from their first marriage or their second marriage, and they want to leave everything behind to that person. And you're operating in like separate but together tranches there. And what happens is that when we do the retirement planning, sometimes the other spouse isn't okay if all of those assets get left to your children. And so you have to still operate as the nucleus together and make sure each other is okay, no matter stress testing all the different things that we look at in retirement, such as longevity, long-term care needs. What if someone dies too soon in retirement? What if someone lives too long? All of those different things that we look at and stress test and make sure each other is okay first, and then really talk about what is the legacy that's meaningful and impactful. And then you can sit down with your financial advisor and your attorney, and you can make a really, really good plan of how to authentically pass those dollars to your kids and to your grandkids or to charity or whoever is important, but also protecting your spouse and making sure that they're okay against all of those stress tests as well.
I know you're deeply passionate about financial planning and inspiring young women to pursue careers in this field. Can you describe what the ideal candidate looks like? Talk about who she is. What qualities or traits do you see in the women you hope to encourage into the profession?
Yeah, so it's funny because my background is I was a concert pianist when I went into
Wow.
college. And so from musician to owning a financial firm, it's a really hard left turn.
Mhm.
I stumbled into financial planning by accident when I had 3 kids and I was looking to go back to work, and someone gave me the opportunity. And I thought, oh gosh, this is crazy. I am not a numbers person. I don't math.
Mm.
I used my calculator on my phone for tips. And I was like, oh gosh, like who's going to want me to do this? And when I started looking into the field, first of all, I was blown away by the fact that there are no women. When I started in the firm up in New York, I was the woman. There was no women to talk to. There were no other moms. There were no other woman that was in the firm with me was younger and single and became one of my very best friends. But um, I was the mom. I was the token wife. Like if someone needed a wife joke or a mom joke, it was me at the table. And I was like, what if my husband passed away and I wanted to go work with a woman advisor? There was no option.
Mhm.
And that was what kind of got me inspired. So we can teach you all of the financial strategies and you can sit for the tests and the exams and all the things that we have. What I can't train someone to do is to be a good listener, to be a hard worker, to put themselves out there, to face the rejection of someone telling you no. Because I promise you, when you randomly pop out of the woodwork and say, hey, can I do your financial planning? The initial response is usually no. Like, no, I'm all set. Thanks. I'm all set. I got a guy.
Hmm.
Everyone's got a guy. So when I look for advisors, and I've recruited many in my day, I really look for someone who's looking to make a difference, who wants to change someone's life, who wants to make someone's life better and have a positive impact on community. Because when you can sit down with a couple and learn about them and help them navigate challenging conversations, help them understand how to make their money work harder, so they get to retire a year earlier and spend some time together. They get to put their kids through college in a meaningful way for them. They get to travel more often and they don't have to stress about money. Money is like the number one cause of divorce, right?
Mm.
It is so impactful and it's great. But you have to be willing to take the rejection and the hard work on the front end of that.
Okay. So I understand you're not only the CEO of Thrive Financial Partners, but you've also recently just launched a new company. Could you tell me about that?
So we just rolled out Elevate Strategy and Consulting, and it is meant for coaching individuals and businesses before you get to the point where you need an advisor.
How do you think financial coaching specifically empowers women?
So I find that the reason women don't come to the table for financial planning is fear and shame. Fear that they don't know what they don't know, that they're going to get sold something, that someone's going to take their money or sell them something they don't need. And so that a lot of times you'll hear women run the household or pay the bills, and that's true. Predominantly women pay the bills. But when you look at investing and banking, it's the men that do
Mhm.
that part of it. And so if we can help women come to an 8-week course on how do you start to build your financial acumen? How do you go those baby steps, your emergency funds, your credit scores, your house, your CPA, all of those things. And we can give you a checklist of saying when you're interviewing financial planners, this is what you want to ask. This is what this means, right? So they have the education and knowledge to feel like they are worthy of being at the table, that someone's not going to take advantage of them, that they know the questions to ask and they understand the terminology.
Sounds like a great program for young post college grads, new moms, freshly divorced, widowed.
Yep. And we intend to have different segments of it for that demographic. And then when you're in a little cohort, you can hopefully make friends, but also have a study group where you have a safe space to talk about those things.
Before we wrap up, I always love to leave the audience with a little inspiration. A lot of women I've talked to are business owners who have had to juggle growing their careers while balancing family and home life. What's something you'd like to share with them?
So I do not fit the mold of when someone thinks about a person that owns a wealth management firm. And you walk into my firm and it doesn't fit the mold of what you think a wealth management firm feels like. But I had a vision in my head that I wanted to really help women in particular find a seat at a table that they've been excluded from. And I wanted to do it in a way that you don't have to check all the boxes. You don't have to look a certain way, have a certain degree, have all of the things that you think you need in your head to be the thing you want to be. One of the things is that a man will have 30% certainty of success and go for it. A woman needs 90% certainty of success to try something. And so if I could inspire one woman who didn't think she was worthy to have a career, to be the breadwinner, to own a business, to stand on stage, to share their message, I've done my job. I have achieved what I've set out to achieve. You are worthy to be at any table that you can dream of being at. And I wake up every day feeling so grateful and blessed for my journey. It has not always been easy. It has been really difficult at some points, sitting in a table that is full of men that don't even hear your voice sometimes. I've gotten to do things I never thought I would do and be an example for my kids, all three of them. I have 2 daughters and a son. That is just awesome. And I really, truly hope that the story of our daughters and our granddaughters gets to change. It's a ripple that hopefully someday will turn into a wave. But if you can dream it, I promise you, you can achieve it. It may be a heavier lift some days than others, but you have greatness inside of you, and don't be afraid of it.
So it sounds like you're saying, if you have a dream and you want to make it happen, take the leap and do it.
Yep, one step at a time. You are never going to be ready.
A big thank you to Lynn for sharing her story and invaluable advice with us today. Her message is clear. Don't wait until you're perfectly ready. Just trust that you're capable of more than you think. By embracing our dreams, we can create meaningful change for ourselves and those around us. So what's your next step toward your dream? Let's make it happen. We'll see you next time. Want to get your business in front of an engaged audience? Podcast ads boost brand awareness by 28%. That means more people remembering you. The Nurtured Woman podcast is the perfect place to share your message. We'll craft a custom ad and feature it in the middle of the show. Don't miss this chance to connect with our listeners in a meaningful way. Let's get your business heard. Reach out today to Michele Droll at mdroll@lknconnect.com. The information shared in this episode is for educational and informational purposes only and should not be considered financial, legal, or investment advice. Listeners should consult with a qualified financial professional before making any financial decisions. Thrive Financial Partners and its representatives are not responsible for any actions taken based on the content of this podcast. All investments involve risk, and past performance does not guarantee future results.